Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the EFL Magazine Business Podcast. Today's guest is Sakurako Oshima, and she's an entrepreneur, teacher, and successful author. In 2007, Sakurako set up her own company specializing in English education for adults. Her mission is to provide powerful support to as many people as possible through lessons, consulting, and coaching. Since 2006, she has been working as a writer and has published a total of 15 books. I had a great chat with Sakurako, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Sorry for not uploading more. I have a lot of great podcasts in the can. I've been busy fixing the site. I've had a few technical things to iron out, and also the upcoming TOEFL Summit. That's the EFL Magazine TOEFL Summit on the 28th and 29th of January. I hope you'll be able to join us at the summit. And here's the podcast. Thanks again.
Hey everyone, buckle up for a new episode of the EFL Magazine Business Podcast, the one and only podcast made to help you launch your business or take your existing business to a level of success you could never have imagined. Whether you're a school owner, freelancer, publisher, or other entrepreneur, you're sure to pick up lots of actionable advice when you listen to the EFL Magazine Business Podcast. Remember to visit eflmagazine.com for great articles and features. Without further ado, here's your host, the founder of EFL Magazine, Philip Pound.
So welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the EFL Magazine Business Podcast. And I'm delighted today to have Sakurako Oshima. And she's here in Tokyo with me, but not in the room, on Zoom as we speak. And Sakurako, would you like to introduce your company to me?
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me over to your podcast. My name is Sakurako Oshima. I am an English instructor here in Tokyo, but at the same time, I'm a writer. So I write books to English learners. So since 2006, I've written 15 books so far. And then I teach business English to all this, mainly Japanese people here in Tokyo. But I go many places as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about there. 15 books. I did see on your profile the books. I didn't go into much to them. So how did you get started in ELT, in English language teaching? What got you interested?
Well, I didn't really mean to be an English teacher about 30 years ago. I wanted to be an interpreter. So when I was actually, I was an office worker first, and then I was working for 3 years, and then I changed my career to an English instructor. But first of all, I had to go to school. So I went to interpreter school for 6 months, and then that was really tough. But I learned a lot. Then I need to work, in order to get money. So I was looking for a job, something that I can use my English. So I just applied for a job as an English teacher, and then I passed the test, and I started teaching, and then I really liked it. So I decided not to be an interpreter, but I decided to be an English teacher. That's the starting about 30 years ago. And then since then, just, one after another, here I am. But before, I didn't study English in foreign countries. So after 5 years, I became a teacher. I went to England for 1 year to study. And then when I come back to Japan, and then I went back to school, graduated from school again, and then blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. And I think I started my business 2007, probably. But before that, I was just freelance. But I just started my own company 2007.
Okay, so you were freelance, you were working for different companies in Tokyo business. Was it business coaching or kind of eikaiwa? School, university?
Well, I teach business English mainly to corporate classes. So like how to write a business email effectively, how to make an English phone call in English, and also how to proceed business meeting in English. Those kind of skill I teach, not really eikaiwa. basically English, business English.
Okay, now, but previously, did you have to do different age groups, or
Oh,
was it always business English
no, no,
that you
no,
taught?
no. The very beginning, my English level was not so high, rather very low. So I had to teach entry level students, like high school students or junior high school student. That was the first 2 years. And basically, I taught basic English grammar or English conversation. That was the first 2 years, and then next 2 or 3 years, I also taught. Not really business, just a regular, like a daily conversation. Yeah. So after that, I become a business English instructor later on.
Okay, gotcha. And so, starting out immediately, what struck you as the difficulties Japanese students have learning English and the difficulties for you teaching English?
Now, right now,
At the
in general,
beginning.
at the beginning, well, the very beginning of my career.
Yes,
Well,
at the beginning of your career.
yeah. Well, I my English was not that high. That was the most challenging thing because I couldn't really understand what they are saying, and also I didn't know how to. I was not trained, or I was not certified teacher. I just happened to be an English teacher at a local school, local English conversation school. So I just didn't know how to teach. So it's everything is like very difficult. Um, but I think later on I learned a little by little how to teach. So and right now I don't really have problems in teaching. I can deal with very beginners to the advanced level. So right now not so much, but maybe the most difficult part is to motivate them, because English learning takes time. How to keep going is most difficult part, I think.
Okay, so most of your students now with the big corporate classes, and
Yes.
the classes aren't mandatory. It's just whatever members are available can join, and some are more dedicated than others. Is that
Yeah.
how it works?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Some people are just didn't want to, but they had to. Some people really wanted to learn, so it varies.
And you'll always get the student who comes in with the book and all the materials, and they say how much they love English and want to learn English, and they stick around for about 2 weeks and then they never come back. Is that your experience?
Well, luckily, corporate classes, like I don't need to decide the term. The company decides. So they have to come. If just one time lesson, like 6 hour lesson one day, or sometimes 2 hour lesson, that depends on the company. So then I don't really have to make, effort to keep them coming. They have to come, it's company class.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand. So, you were working. We'll go back a little bit. You were working a freelance, and
Hmm.
then you decided, okay, I want to start my own gig here. I want to start my own company. How
Yeah.
did that come about? Was it a gradual thing, or something happened one day and you just said, I'm not going to say, but something happened, said, blast this, and I'll do my own thing.
E- I think that around that time, it's kind of like a boom, like a trendy things to start up your own companies. Like my friends, they decided to start up their own company, and then okay, I have to do it as well. And also, it's nice to have Meishi business card saying you're CEO or president. Then you can meet the same level of people, even if it's a really big company. But if you have just freelance, it's very difficult to reach to like a certain level of people in a company. That's why. That's my decision.
Okay, and so this was around 2007.
I think so. I'm not really sure. I don't remember well.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just. I heard 2007
Yeah,
earlier, so I
probably.
I
I think
went with
I
that
said
one.
2007, but maybe 2007.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was quite the fashion back then for people to start companies, and it
Around
was
me, yeah.
kind of unfortunate. It was just before the, as they say in Japan, the Lehman shock, wasn't it?
Oh,
2008, 2009. How,
yeah.
how did you get through that period? It must have been difficult for you.
Well, but it didn't really affect my business because my business is education. Education is always thrive. But some company decided not to spend money on it. But basically, I was okay. I was able to survive. But even more difficult part is the COVID-19 that 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, all of my classes canceled. That was even more difficult than back then.
Fantastic. We'll get to that in a little bit. I Haori, who I interviewed about a year ago now, had similar experience. I think she started her company, and it was around the Tohoku earthquake, the
Oh,
great
okay.
earthquake, and things were
Mm,
difficult at that period. Of course, the COVID has
yes.
been difficult as well. What were both those times difficult for you?
That Tohoku earthquake? I don't think so. That time, maybe just 1 or 2 weeks, I had to stay home, but not really. I was going back to work right away. It didn't really affect because I live in Tokyo, so not so bad.
Okay, so we'll go back to starting the company. So you decided, okay, a lot of your friends, so you had the peer encouragement. We're
Or
doing
peer
it.
pressure.
Oh, yeah, peer pressure, maybe. If you can do as well as I can, maybe.
Yeah.
But um, so there was that. You had the encouragement, and what was the first step? Did you say, "Okay, I'll get my meishi, I'll get my business cards done"? Is that the first Japanese step? I think maybe. Or did you incorporate your company? Did you start a website? For people
Yeah, it's
listening,
all
what's
that. Yes, I incorporated, and also I set up my own website and my Meishi. Yes, I did everything. So it's not that big of a deal. I asked my friends to design the website, and also another friend to design my Meishi. It went really quite smoothly. It was not really difficult for me.
Yeah, not so difficult. You were fortunate. You had such good friends, talented.
Yeah.
But now, of course, for business owners who want to start up, there's Fiverr and a lot of these freelancer sites. You can get a lot of things designed for very little. Now, some people say, you don't have to have all these things in place before you start a company, whether that's teaching
Right.
online or bricks and mortar. But you decided to have everything: websites, cards. Did you at that time have an office, or were you working from home?
So I before having my own company, I was a freelance anyway. I had been teaching English for like 10 years already, so I had all these clients. So I just needed to keep going. My book cover just changed from a freelance English instructor to, corporate owner. That's it. So not big change. Do you understand what I meant?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. So it was a smooth transition. The
Yeah.
the shop front was changed, and
That's why
uh,
I didn't have to, put my advertisement or anything, I had already clients.
okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say, a Japanese business making decisions, it's quite slow, isn't it? People come
Ah,
to make decisions quite slowly. But um, generally, if people do business in Japan, they do business for a long time. I think I've maybe Emmy Kamiya, who I interviewed a few months back, we talked about this, that, the longest running companies in the world, aren't the top five are Japanese, aren't
oh
they?
yeah.
So is that your I think so. Yeah, there's a hotel that's maybe around since 700, year 700. I have to Google it. But and then
Oh,
there's an onsen. There's a few that have been running for a long time. So is that your experience? You had the clients, and your clients just tend to stay with you for a long time.
mm. So my clients had to stay in the same company. I mean, that's what your question?
No, what I mean is
Or-
generally the contracts just renew and renew. Generally,
Oh,
people don't switch or churn or take
oh,
different providers. People tend to go with the same provider something stable?
Okay. Well, yes, I think so. Like a trust is the most important thing. So once you establish the relationship with your clients, they usually stick to it. So I don't have to do all the sales pitch or anything. Once I got it, it just continues. For example, one of my clients is since 1997. So up to now, I maybe 2 or 3 clients since 1997, and then some clients from 2000. So like every year, like they just come to me and then I just provide. I just need to update my content.
Okay, so that makes things a lot easier. At the beginning, you had a database, you had a client base there that you could work with. You decided to upgrade what you were doing, have a website, have your Meishi, and look better. What were the challenges starting out? Because, incorporating company, doing accounts, and there's so many other things you have to do when you're not a freelancer.
Right.
What was some maybe teething problems you had, starting out?
Well, if I had some competitions, like I have to do the to give a lesson, and then there's some other companies as well, like a competition. Those are always tough. Usually I don't need to do the sales, but sometimes I had to. In those times, if I was beaten, I was shocked or disappointed or discouraged, but but these days I don't really have an opportunity, so I'm lucky. But before, yes, I had to do it, and I had to write a business proposal, but didn't go through. I suggested this and this, but they don't like it, so those kind of things happen, like some kind of rejections you have to go through. Yeah, but these days I am, I used to be like 90% of teaching and then 10% of writing, but now 50-50 or 60-40, I write more. So these days, my concern is how to expand my subscribers, how to, acquire new readers. These are the more, pressing concern for me right now. Teaching is like a rather stable now.
Okay, so that's a good cue to move on to your books and your writing. So when did you start writing?
I think 2000. So just before having my own company, so 2006, that was my first book. First I thought, if you work or, be in an active in a business or education field, I think you have to have something to imprint it, So then I decided to write one book about the English grammar. So then I had a connection with Waseda University. So I was talking to them and they introduced me some publishing companies. So then I brought my proposal, but my proposal didn't really go through that time. But the editor-in-chief found something maybe good in me, and then she decided, but to publish this book. But this book didn't really sell well, unfortunately. But the next book already I started writing, and then the second book was selling really well, the same publishing company. So that's the starting point. So like every year, I got the offer to write a book. That was up until maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But because of the COVID-19 and everything's changed again, and also because of the social network expanding, anybody can be a writer, anybody can publish a book. So, and also not the paper backs are not really selling well. Now people read in electronics, right? So that's why the publishing industry is having a very difficult time. So up until 2 or 3 years ago, I was able to publish almost one book a year, but now it's one book every 2 years. But for example, this year I didn't write any books, but next year hopefully I can write. But last year I started a newsletter. So this is in Japanese merumaga. I just started. So it's coming next month is going to be a 1 year anniversary. So this is my new challenge. Like every week I have to write, and then I try to expand my subscribers. So this is my main focus right now.
Welcome to the club. So as regards, sending newsletter, putting out content, getting subscribers, getting listeners. I've been running this podcast for, I can't remember now, it's almost 2 years.
Oh, okay.
And it just, you just have to do it every week. Now, sometimes I'm not so enthusiastic about doing editing or putting it together, but that's just what you have to do, isn't it? You just have to keep plugging away.
So every week,
grind. Mostly now for the summer, I won't be like for August. I'm not releasing podcasts. I'll have a new season starting in September, just because I need a break. And it's too hot and humid. So So that's the thing. So tell me about the book. So the first book didn't sell well, but the second one did. How do you account for that?
Okay, so the first book is English grammar, and then I think how Japanese people, how much they hate English grammar. They don't like it, right? So, and also I wrote rather serious book, and it's a big one, and then maybe a little too difficult. So my target audience was like intermediate. So my audience was smaller anyway, so that's why it didn't sell well in the first place. So the second book is business English. I had a co-author, and he's an American man. He is a business person. He is not an English teacher. So he's my good friend, and he's funny. So I asked him to write a dialogue depending on the situation, like at the meetings, like a business meeting or like a business dinner, those kind of situation. I asked him to write all this, real conversation dialogue. And that went really well. So, and then I pick out all this English phrases, interesting part and explanation of in Japanese. So this is my second book, and it sold really well. And probably because of the dialogue, because of him, he doesn't really think about, English grammar or anything. He just wrote what his English, so it's a really natural one. So that's why this is the second book. Yeah, it sold really well.
And what kind of readership was that for? Mid-level, intermediate, office workers, or was it like more executives? What kind of industries? Do you know what kind of breakdown there was?
I think probably not the beginners, but all others like intermediate, beginner, not the beginner, but the intermediate, and also the higher intermediate, advanced levels. So anybody who needs, business English learners. Yeah.
Yeah. So you told me a little bit about pitching for business, and then the first book didn't take off as much, and you can understand the reasons for that. So you're obviously a resilient person, someone who pushes through, wants to succeed, and in cases like that is when something does succeed, it's all the better, isn't it? When the first one doesn't work, the second one does work. Mm-hmm. It's a great sense of satisfaction, isn't there?
Yes, it was. And also, so the first book, the second book, the same publishers, right? So I heard that if you publish only the same publisher, people think you have just a special connection. And then that's why you were able to publish the book. So that's why the third book, I was looking for a new publisher. And I happened to meet one guy at the teaching instructor's room at the Boston University's Extension Center. And then he is a quite famous Chinese literature, not the literature, Chinese. He is a business coach using Chinese literature. So he was a really famous person. So he happened to be the same age as my father. So he treated me like his daughter, So once a week we met at the instructor's room. Then I just asked him, what do you think of this, this publishing situations? I have two same publishers. And then the third one, I'm looking for a maybe new one. And then he said, well, if you're a professional, you have to publish one book a year, definitely. Otherwise, people forget about you. So I still, try to keep up with this, his advice. And then suddenly he said, the next week he gave me a scissor paper. It says there's another publisher's name. And then he said, well, they don't have any English books, but maybe they will. So just call him. Okay, thank you. So I called him and the editor. And then he said, well, they don't have any English section of this publishers because it's, do you know Shinsho? It's like usually if you publish English conversation books, you need audio, like back then CDs, but they said they don't have any such kind of, material. So I have to just simply write. Then he said, maybe business English email, because there you don't need to record or the sound or anything. And then there's, okay, well, but which was the 2009. So I just didn't really have much experience of writing business English emails. Maybe that time, not anybody. So I told him, honestly, I didn't have much experience, but he said, well, why don't you research? So, okay. So then I, went to New York and I asked as people, then I wrote a tiny little book and which sold super well. It became one of the bestsellers at the time, so that was the third book. And because of that, I think 2009, Wall Street Journal Japan just came to Japan. They just launched Wall Street Journal Japan website, and then the editor-in-chief asked me to write a series of how to write a business email in English on that website. So this all connected.
Fantastic. So they all knitted together. You got introduction, and then you got introduced again and working for Wall Street Journal, and that of course feeds back to your book. So it's a virtuous cycle, isn't it? So so tell me about the book. So you said it's a little book. So what kind of person is it? Designed for the train? Somebody is on the train in the morning.
Easy to put in a bag, so it's tiny little book, not tiny little Shinshoban, I don't know how to say in English. It's like a paperback.
Like a pocketbook.
Like a pocketbook, yes.
Yeah, but I've never really understood pocketbook in English, because pocketbook could be this size or it could be like A5 size, couldn't it? Or even bigger. So I don't know how big people's pockets are.
You can hold in your hand like a handheld size. I don't know how to say.
Yeah.
Then also there's no CDs, so that's why it's cheaper. So it's easy to carry around. So it's rather popular among the business people.
And of course, we've overcome that problem now with QR codes, haven't we, for listening?
Yes. So now we don't need CD anyways, QR code and download link,
Exactly. And I think for the CD, there's certain type publishers have CDs. Some publishers have CDs because it costs substantially more, or you have to buy the teacher's book, don't you? Or the fact is some schools just like CDs, don't they? If it's a bigger school, then the CD can be shared or kept in the class, in the staff room, or, can be ripped or, whatever. So, but yeah, publishers are very much moving away, I think, from CDs now.
Yes, no more CDs, because people don't have a CD players anyway.
That's a good point. Yeah, I had to, for my computer here, I had to get a disk drive. So I don't, do I have a CD player? Yeah, I do, because I live in Japan. It's a retro country for CD player.
I still keep, one of my CD players as well, just in case, if I wanted to listen to my old CDs,
Absolutely, and the sound is better. And I've been watching some YouTube videos that CD is making a comeback. Vinyl definitely, but vinyl, they're saying that the reason why vinyl made a comeback is because it looks beautiful. It can be signed, it can be put on the wall, it can be put in a bookshelf, and there's the whole process of laying down the vinyl and putting the needle on the record, and
I heard that the cassette tape was also like a revival. people really like to collect all this old cassette tapes.
Wow, I didn't know that. I know in certain convenience stores they still have the
They
cassette
do.
tapes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
The other day, I was watching a news a few months ago, they said there's a big thing now, and people wanted to collect because sounds like the sound from the tape is retro, and it sounds rather nostalgic, and it's like a better, people say.
Yeah, that's true. And you can get retro filters for like design. You can get
Yeah.
retro filters. I think I have an app. It does a 80s video with, remember the tracking at the
Uh-huh.
bottom with the fuzzy part, the
Uh-huh.
snowy border at the bottom where you can do that, and it has the timestamp if you can remember Natsukashi. And it's all very a lot of nostalgia coming out here. So you had the third book. So there's a long. I don't think I'll go through all 15
Yeah.
books,
I don't remember
Sakurako, but
either. Uh-huh.
tell me something about the other books. Have you stayed with the same publisher? What else have you written about?
Yeah, so had maybe 4 or 5 different publishers, and then I one time I wanted to write something away from business. Then I wrote one special book from manga, Berusa Inobara. Have you ever heard? Maybe you don't.
I'm not a big manga person, but please do fill me in. Please do tell me.
So I am not a big manga person either, but this particular manga is very special. When I was a high school girl or junior high school girl, I read this whole, the whole series. This is about a French Revolution, and then you can learn the history, European history, French history, and also a love story of the court, the queen and king, those kind of stories. So I still am a big fan of this manga. And then one day, one of the publishers, she's my old friend actually, and then she asked me, "Would you like to write about something with this manga?" I said, "Of course, even if it's free, I would do it because I would love to write, something about this." So this was, I think, 2000, maybe 17. I was able to publish. It's just one book, and then nothing to do with business. Just I read all the story one more time, and then pick out the phrases in Japanese and translate it into English. This particular phrase, for example, have you ever been in love? Those kind of things, like phrases from the manga. And then,
I thought that was a question. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so and then this is have you ever been is genzai kanryo in Japanese. So I organize all these phrases in order of the junior high school grammar material. So you can learn junior high school level grammar through this manga's phrases. This is my, I don't know, maybe 10th book or, so that was a special book.
Wow, absolutely. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Osamu Tezuka, isn't that right? He did
Yes.
I do know something about manga. That's the reason, because I live actually where the museum is in the Shinamachi area, so I've gone in there. So he had a famous Buddha series, didn't he? So it's along the same kind of lines. He's teaching something through manga. So so fantastic. So this was junior high school students.
No. My target audience is always adult.
Oh, really?
Always adult. I have never written anything, for the students, all like a teenage, not even teenagers, like a 20s, 30s, 40s. Now, probably this manga is especially popular a long time ago, so maybe 30, 40, 50 years old women are the target audience. Yeah. So, and also I have one book about junior high school level grammar. I mean, like a grammar for the speaking. This is even for not the junior high school student. So target audience is a business person. So that's why when I write all the sentences, it's like not like this is Tom likes to play baseball. Those kind of thing I don't write. like he is a journalist, or she is a stay-at-home mom, or those kind of phrases I used.
Okay, I understand. So that was a new departure for you, or a departure for you. And what other books? Just give me a flavor of what else you've written.
The other books, yeah. So, but this book is, just only one book I wrote away from business. I thought I was able to, like you say, to go a different direction, but I was back to business again because that's the strong demand. So I wrote, there's another one is preposition, English preposition, 前置詞, like,
Oh, well, that would be. I met somebody who has this book. I'm not sure. It rings a bell.
oh yeah,
Yeah, a few years
because
ago.
as an
Yeah.
English learner, so I was born in Japan, raised in Japan. My education is only, Japanese education. So I never lived in foreign country before becoming an English teacher. So for English learners, especially for the advanced level, maybe articles and a preposition. These two are the most difficult, like a final area that you have to go over it. Like articles it's just super difficult for us to understand. But prepositions we could, not master, but we were able to sort of like understand, So that's why I wrote this book. And then now I am thinking of rewrite this book maybe next year. So this is also really challenging, but it's good for me as an English learner as well. So this book is one good example for for advanced level English learners. And also there's the two other books. It actually turned into app. Yeah, have
Please put in a plug for your app there, please. The name of the app.
ABC'd.
ABC'd.
ABC'd, So this app, I have my book, two of my books were there. So one is, as I just explained, junior high school levels grammar book for speaking. The other one is business English meetings, phrases. So these two are on the app. That was last year, so which was really nice because I bought it myself. I wanted to know how it works. So because even though you don't have a book, everything is in an app, right? So you can shuffle the words if you make mistakes, and also so it's really useful. And if you had a book, you can get the discount of this app.
Gotcha. That's the cycle again. So it kind of reminds me. I'm not going to say the word on air because I'd have to tick a different box for the podcast. But it's a pretty commonly used word. Begins with F and ends with K. And there's actually an English book published in Japan just about this word. Have you seen this in the book?
No, really?
That's very interesting. Yeah.
Sounds interesting. What is it about?
It's how we use this particular word. So up or in or about. Yeah. So it has all these different nuances. Yeah. So definitely have a look out for that one. Maybe you could do something similar in future.
As a reference book. Yes.
Exactly. I think it's very useful, and it's not just this word, but other words that we tend to use at the same time or occasions. So you've published all these books, but also, I actually just followed you on Insta there before we came on air.
Yeah.
And I noticed your TOEIC score.
Oh, the
yeah, it's up there. Was it 990? Is that correct?
990. Yes, wow. That's correct.
And that is maximum, isn't it?
As far as I know. Listening and reading. And an SW. Have you ever heard SW? Speaking, writing.
That's the one people don't want to do.
Those tests is also, I got a full mark, 200 and 200, 400. So, but it took time for me to achieve this, score.
Absolutely. So for somebody let's say flawless performance in TOEIC. Well, I mean, 990 is flawless, isn't it? I
But
mean, there's no,
no.
yeah.
Even if you make one or two mistakes, you still can get 990 full score.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's me not knowing about how they score the exam. Sorry, ETS. So tell me some tips for teachers, for students who, for teachers teaching TOEIC or for students taking it. How would you suggest the
Oh,
person
TOEIC,
could
TOEIC?
reach? Yeah, for
Yeah, I
TOEIC.
know.
Yeah.
Because especially Japanese people, business people love to get the scores, right? Even at university students, in order to get the better job, they have to have at least 730 or 800 to show the future employers, right? Well, to be honest with you, I am not a big fan of TOEIC because, but TOEIC test evolves. They changed for I don't know how many years, but it changed for the better, which is good, but still only listening and reading. And then my strong belief for the language learning is you have to approach all like 4 skills at the same time, not just listening and reading, and you have to do both. And then all of them, and then it affects in a good way, influenced on each other, and then you can improve. So I think it's nice to set the goal. Okay, next time over 730, next time 800, and a lang 860. But that's not all about it. This is just for like a landmark, a sign. You have to have a clear goal besides TOEIC. TOEIC is not just a score. So you have to have a clear purpose of language learning, like to learn the culture behind the language or history, or to get to know other people, or to gain more information without translation. So, and then while you're studying or learning, TOEIC is just next to you to support you even. So I don't want them to like get excited or too depressed just to this, when they're looking at the scores. Like, my students is like, oh, this time 720, next time the 800, what should I do? So, well, it takes time, eventually you can get there. So that's what I always say. But you don't just focus on listening and reading. You have to do everything. Then you can improve. For example, when I got the first time I got the TOEIC score 700 something. It's quite low as an English teacher. But 700 something, while I was studying some other stuff, like reading a newspaper or watching a news program, the score follows me. I didn't tag it up at the score. Score came along with me while I was studying all the other stuff. So, and then when I realized, oh, okay, I got full score, which is nice, but this is just a score, So that's, I always tell my students.
So your ego was not inflated by having the score. You were just, oh, okay, it's 990. I still made some mistakes. It's not the be all and end all that people kind of think. It's almost in Japan, it's like a social credit, isn't it? They have a system in China, and I've seen some apps on TV, and there's you input all data about yourself, your credit score, your TOEIC score, these kind of apps that people have and they can share. And so it's
nice. It's nice to have a full score, because it shows you made effort, you worked hard. That it shows, score shows that, I think. So it's nice to have a higher score. Then also students can trust me, so I don't deny it, but I don't overly, appreciate the score.
Gotcha. But it's still nice to have if people do ask you, and you have that confidence there to back you up. So you're quite accomplished business person, author, and what's for the future?
Okay, what's for the future? Yes, good question. So 2 or 3 years, 2.5 years ago, when the COVID hit us, and then I was kind of like a shocked because all the lessons were canceled. My income just became zero. Right? If I didn't teach, there's nothing. Of course, the royalty is coming in. You know, for the books or the newsletters. So then I thought, and also my strength is I was able to travel, you know, half of the year in Hawaii, half of the year in Tokyo, or sometimes I went to Europe. So I was a traveling instructor. I always use my English and I can feedback, I can bring those knowledge or experience back to my students, which was my strength. My lesson is always like international sort of, global. I wanted to provide, not just the staying in Tokyo and, looking at the YouTube, no. I wanted to go out. I wanted to get all the experience outside. So, but that was stopped. Obviously, I couldn't fly. I couldn't even ride on a Shinkansen for a year, So, the future hopefully, I wanted to go back to that lifestyle, like a dual, either Australia or the US or Europe is rather difficult still now because of the war going on. But I wanted to do this kind of like a traveling instructor lifestyle, I wanted to resume. And at the same time, if I focus more on that, probably less teaching, more writing. Then wherever I go, I can just write. And this is my future, dream or lifestyle.
So location independence, and of course, pandemics pandemics aside, we can hope that we can get on the road again, and that transports, airports won't be so clogged, and lines so long, and tickets so expensive as well, isn't it?
And the Japanese yen is so weak.
Yes, exactly. I've been actually speaking to somebody today about that, and the people have to adjust prices and give more discounts to Japanese customers. Yeah, that's another point for me. Maybe going back home this year, the plane tickets were very expensive, but also the yen doesn't go so far, does it?
Yeah.
It's not so good. But the irony is, it's really good for inbound tourists and good for the Japanese economy, tourist economy. But there is no Japanese tourist economy anymore, or very little anyway, compared to what it was.
Yeah, and also my students who are licensed tour guide, interpreter, they all lost their jobs. That's really sad. Yeah, there's no tourists.
There are some jobs, though. I think they're retraining people for guides, as far as I know. I've heard of.
Yeah, but slowly, the people are coming back. So I think my students are all, working hard to improve their English and study, and then to be ready anytime. That's what their plans, I think.
Yeah, you touched on it yourself, but going through COVID, I think this podcast was all through COVID. I think I talked to people like 2 years ago, and how they were managing with the situation. But I think for you and for me, for example, being freelance or having your own business, and you have that uncertainty, don't you? You have to sometimes you have to worry about where the next paycheck for the next month is coming in. So did you find that, being your own operator, being your own business owner, when COVID came, you were a little bit more prepared?
Yes. So I actually thanked my Japanese government. I was able to get the support from the government, which was quite big money. So, and because I have my own company, Office BI, there's another one is started another business for publishing. So I divided it into two. So the both ways, I got the support from the government, so I was able to survive. Yeah, but I think I should be more prepared. That's what I thought.
And we got 2 free face masks as well. So if you can remember, do you still have your Abe no mask?
I do.
somewhere.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, we have it. Never opened it, but
Yeah, never open it. Yeah. Maybe
um,
I'm gonna just keep it.
yeah, and especially what's happened in the
Yeah,
past
I
few
know.
weeks as well.
Yeah.
We won't go into that. But Sakurako, it's been really a pleasure talking to you today. So
Thank
I'll
you.
put all the links in the
Uh-huh.
description
Okay.
for the podcast.
Yeah.
And just to say, just you as a teacher, as a business person, I mean, teaching is not just about what you know and teaching, imparting English knowledge, is it?
Yeah.
It's about enthusiasm and
Mm.
belief. And I think that that makes who you are really with
Mm.
your students and how you're so
Yeah.
successful.
Thank you.
And thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was fun to talk with you.
Thanks for listening to the EFL Magazine Business Podcast with Philip Pound. For more great advice and resources, check out eflmagazine.com. If you found this podcast helpful, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. See you next time.